Good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for this lovely webinar. I've got my colleague here, Yurii Zorin, that we will be talking a bit about hybrid, a bit about remote, and we'll be thinking about, how we can achieve success in the new format that we currently have ongoing, given the challenges on the market and everything else that's going around us. So without further ado, Yurii, can you please introduce yourself? Just tell us a bit about you, who you are, etc.
Hello, Alexander. Hello, guys. Hey, everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Yurii. I work for Quadcode in position of Chief of IT Operations. I'm responsible for 9 team. Our responsibility is infrastructure, network, and operation. My experience in managing of IT products is more 12 years. Today I'm going to tell about why we prefer the hybrid format workflow.
Okay. Awesome, Yurii. Thank you very much for that intro. From my end, I'm the head of talent acquisition here at Quadcode. My background's been in recruitment for the past 10 years within the SaaS environment predominantly. And as Yurii highlighted, we'll be taking you through our journeys and our experiences in this new format of working. So let's continue with, actually the deep dive and start it. So Yurii, to you, what actions do you take to maintain productivity after the transition to a remote work?
Yeah, as we remember, COVID-19 started 4 years ago, and we had changed workflow and had started working remotely full-time. We faced it with uncertainty and fear of obscurity. What we were doing and how it was. First of all, we commenced transferring all employees to remote workflow format. All communication was changed to video conference call after we estimate capacity teams. It lets you know what was going on, and we were able to shape the situation. Of course, the quantity of meetings increased. However, the only way how we could save the control and coherent work. But there were advantages. There was more freedom for employees. They had opportunity to go to the office, to stay at home, and not to spend their time on commute, but still on work in comfort. There was advantages of business as well. We reduced cost of office, but we were able to preserve loyalty and engagement of employers by giving them more freedom. It is top point for this company and top point for me.
Indeed. No, you're saying interesting things around the productivity side of things. You're mentioning to be, in this trust relationship where you empower your employees and your team members so that you can strike the right level of on one hand, work-life balance, because the commute is no longer there. But on the other way of, the social distancing, with the meetings going up, are we becoming socially awkward, etc.? But still, you mentioned team spirit and keeping people, with the same aim and with the same goal. So, okay, thank you very much for the insight here. I have one more question. So, Quadcode, we are working in a hybrid format, and we have our reasons to do so. From your point of view, what are the reasons for that? And do you have a plan to return back to the office?
So, to be honest, the plan always change. However, today I can definitely tell we are choosing the hybrid format. Many companies decide to come back to office because they don't know how to work differently. While we have learned it, and this is our advantages. The many advantages of hybrid approach is having no limits in search and hiring. of cool and new specialists. I'm certainly certain that about 30% of our specialists prefer the working in the office from time to time. Having this opportunity, we have afford our sales to meet all the need and to be competitive in the hiring market.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you put it, wider talent pool. You're sounding, Yurii, more like a talent acquisition expert, and I love it. No, I love that. We're spreading the talent acquisition across the board. But in all fairness, I think when we're talking about Quadcode and hybrid, you and I are also hybrid. I'm working from Bulgaria throughout the bigger part of the month, and you're based in Dubai. And now, for a lot of reasons, both you and I are here in our new opened office in Limassol, where, yes, the advantages of how Quadcode defines hybrid probably are seen more on the remote definition, of standard remote definition on the market. But truly, having this headquarters here, the first time when I saw it back in May, when we just opened and moved into this new space, it was amazing. All of a sudden, I was back in the game of talking to people, understanding ideas, understanding the culture, being able to actually communicate this to the market. Not to mention the food on the 4th floor and the view towards the sea. I think that's a unique selling point for me, to be fair. But the wider talent pool, the scalability side of things, so not having a physical presence, but still being able to grow in a specific market. The global presence is also a good point here, customer base, market cap, and you're able to reach it. So all of a sudden, the moment you become slightly more flexible and you move away from the 9 to 5 in the office, we're starting to see some good results. Although, the things that we see in TikTok, people working from the beach and looking at Netflix stuff is definitely a challenge. But I understand what you mean here. Okay, let's go then to our next few topics within this webinar today. Thinking about remote and the definition that we at Quadcode have for hybrid. How do you onboard your employees, your remote employees, effectively?
Yeah, of course. That is great questions. Thank you. We are using the all digital setup for my work and work my teams. Source of communication, cloud task tracker, and continue control of capacity in different methods. We are using Tasmo model, maybe that is a populate model for industries, and we have deployed the approach of new employees adaptate such as mentoring, and it's sufficiently increase speed of adaptations and moving employees into working mode. It is important to notice that a mentor doesn't replace an employer in his or her task. His or her responsibility is to assist a new employee in work, so the employee won't spend time on basic information search. That is a great point, because we can assist the really fast time encapsulate the new people in the workflow process in the company.
Understood. And I like your view as a senior leader of how this is happening within the company and your vision here. Me personally, looking at from just an employee within the organization, nothing can replace my comfortable chair. Nothing can replace the personalized way I created the office at home and the flexibility which I have with the air conditioner. I know this sounds bizarre and it may be difficult for everyone, but I control the air conditioner. I set it however I want it. There's no fight about this, at least not at home. But in reality, you're right. the tools that we're using and the software, because it's 2023 after all, it does help a lot. It does help a lot. Now, I'm looking at the slide that we prepared here, and I'm seeing some of the challenges. And I'm sure that some of our viewers today are interested in them as well. And you mentioned earlier companies not perhaps being ready to do the remote or the Quadcode of hybrid. That's how I call it, to be fair. And here are some interesting points, and I'm sure that the data security is one which is very close to you. But when doing remote and doing hybrid, there are things that the guys need to understand and to strike it right from the first bit, from the first point. And this is to consider, of course, the time zone, the team spirit, the local labor laws. Some guys may feel the isolation. So although we're saying that health and well-being is there, and we're thinking about ways to empower our employees and to help them go through different periods, isolation is considered a big topic, especially going out of the pandemic and coming into the new years of the new work. Okay, moving on. I have one more question for you, and that's around building a strong company culture with a remote team. So how do you do that?
Yeah, our goals is to give the quickest solutions of industry inquiries. All the solutions are neither new nor unusual, but something that you can utilize daily and increase the speeds of hiring, adaptation, and work efficiency. Any stability company was being built and changed in a moment of crisis, and eventually the method and goals persist even at crisis last time. As I mentioned before, during any change, opened mindless consistency and goals are important. At the end of our speech, we had a dream to become more efficiency. However, dream without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately leave you disappointment. On the road to achieving your dreams, you must apply discipline, but more important, consistency, because without commitment, you will never start. Without consistency, you will never finish.
I love that. Commitment and consistency. This resonates a lot. And my experience here, working and partnering with remote teams, it for me has been pretty much the same. It goes with people, process, tools, and then it's very similar as to before. We hire, we onboard, we set the expectations and goals, of course. Then it's all about communication. It's all about the tools that you get, the training, the performance management, not to mention even the trust and autonomy in the work of a person that you've just hired. And then improvement, employee well-being. All of that are for me are key words, but in reality, what I'm noticing for the past couple of months, being part of Quadcode here, that's part of our DNA. That's part of how we do things. And I think this is the magic, and this is the ingredients that you need. You need that strong DNA, that determination and consistency in the approach that you have. So yeah, okay. Yurii, thank you very much for that. It was lovely to hear your thoughts and get some inspiration from here. Thank you.
Thank you too.